Hi all and welcome back. If you think what's gone before was mind-blowing enough, we have more to the end, right to the end. This will start now to connect the dots. First piece I'm going to cover is who are the heirs. It's important to get a background to what I'm going to reveal tonight. They were the originals here. And yes, they were white as a matter of reference only, not to paint a picture of superiority, but actual facts. They were packed with the extra abilities that is latent in us all. Telepathy, telekinesis, spirituality, advanced technology that was body, heart and mind based, not external like now, using what is known as the Vril energy. They had planet and interplanetary craft for travel, known as Vitmaras and Vitmanas, advanced agriculture, heightened art, creativity and ways of living way above all who followed here. They taught, and their base of operation was the Arya, which was a continent north of Russia, which is likely more commonly known as Hyperborea, when things up there were a lot more tropical based than they are now. They were teachers of the highest form of personal responsibility, nature, growth, all done in a non-violent way. They only defended, they never attacked. They went on teaching to the peoples of Rus, now known as modern-day Russia, and spread out in all directions, north, south, east and west, and encompassed 2/3 of the globe. The Rus taught the Slavonic Aryans, and it spread out across the planet with advanced building techniques that were later passed on to the peoples known as the Tartarians. They came in peace and tried to teach the tribal peoples of the day of different ways of life and living, not existing and sacrificing under the Kali Ma, with varying degrees of success. But the dark forces always fought back, and around every 13,000 years mark, as the gate out of the loop or the matrix approached, they unleashed desert creating weapons, various floods or threw rocks at our planet to prevent the peoples escaping the system and reaching the higher frequency realms many had attained back then. Not so much now, due to the interference, distraction games and their really successful divide and conquer programs. Tonight we will lift the lid on what really has been going on here for thousands of years. Following on from my Russia with Love series, and more recently the theory that the Indians in America were possibly the peoples who fled or were thrown out of the Garden of Eden in India, which is why they're called Indians, and the Kali Ma Dark Mother worship and the sacrificing of the peoples, something else got me thinking that may or not be correct, depends on your own opinions, but it certainly at this point appears to fit in with what went on in that region at a later date. What if along the way of the exodus out of the Garden of Eden, some of those discarded did go north out of India, as the others who were exiled went west towards Egypt? The ones who went north over a period of time raised a vast army, because if you go north out of India you will reach the land now known as Mongolia, which is famous for the wars further north and west of that region and the entity known as Genghis Khan. who went on various conquests against all and sundry, we are led to believe, but I suspect now to be only against one peoples only, the Rus and the Slavonic Aryans. The name Khan is the Asian spelling of the name Cohen, Cohen. Cohen being of the Ashkenazi Jewish line and related to Noah, he who, let's not forget, was given the heads up about the flood from the so-called gods, of which I believe Noah was from that group. So we had the Khazarian Jews who fled west. Well, they weren't fled, they were exiled. And the Ashkenazi Jews who went north, and their leader in the 1200s was Genghis Khan, who it is suspected was not fully human, given some of his exploits and antics. Genghis Khan attacked the north and what we're told was the so-called barbarians. The reality is those barbarians were far more advanced than any other being on this planet ever. And the reality is, due to several attacks over time, as well as the Khan-Cohen group, it was the Rus who built the so-called Great Wall of China, not the Chinese. Is there evidence that backs this up? Yes. The defence posts are facing the wrong way for it to have been built by the Chinese. Oops. That evidence can be found all along the wall. Also look at the construction of it and match it with the other construction around the world. It is Rus or Tartarian, most of which has been attributed to the Greeks or Romans, but most of them were built long before their construction period. Cohen or Khan and his army also went west to follow the Khazarian route also, and he landed in Iran, known as the land of the Aryans. Why would a group from Mongolia go so far west to attack that one country? Look at the distance on the map. It's near 3,000 miles. It would be a massive undertaking now, never mind back then. So Khan arrived in Nishapur in Iran, which is close to Artu, and Nishapur, which is on Lake Irma, or Ermia, all close to the Caucasian mountains, which means white. Artu and Lake Ermia is the clue. Like the Al Mountains and the original Jerusalem, which was Jerusalem, which was in Russia. Iran was an region. Means the originals or the earliest. Now, in one day, Khan or Cohen slaughtered 1,768,000 people in Nishapur, in the land of the Aryans. You heard that right. 1.75 million in a day. And a place that's not too far away from the original Kingdom of Manna, which was also in Iran, funny enough. But do you think it's possible for a load of people on horseback with spears, bow and arrows and swords to kill 1.75 million in one day as recorded? No. Khan had advanced weaponry and was given help by the dark forces off and in world, is the more common sense thinking answer. To many that will be seen as not possible. Oh, that's 800 years ago. It's not possible, that technology. But that is because they only think advanced weaponry is a last century invention. It's not. When archaeological evidence right across the Middle East shows extensive radioactive fallout layers in the past, proving a nuclear war thousands of years ago. And the little known fact that Russia was attacked by nuclear weapons in 1812. Oops. Could well tell a different story. The ones who were exiled out of the Garden of Eden, modern-day India, to Egypt, it appears at the same time as the rise of the cult of Amun-Ra. Same time. Again, they are Hebrew deities. Amun means the hidden. And this entity, who wasn't even here in form at any stage, is worshipped by most religions when you end the prayer with Amen. Again, Amun-Ra followers did rituals and sacrifices of the people, just as they did back in India. And it spread throughout the world. And here's the kicker. Amun-Ra came from the Mount Zion region, which is where the modern-day term Zionist came from. Hence the book, which the system tries to deny exists, but in reality does, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. Remember I mentioned it earlier, to remember it? Which is a book about Jewish world domination. It's all there if you look and connect the dots. But Jewish is the latest label used, designed to create divide and conquer. Replace Jew with forces of the dark where necessary. The modern day owner of King Solomon's ring is the Rothschilds. Jewish, and a family with the most reptilian Draco DNA. What's on Rothschild's ring? A 6-pointed star. Which country is represented by the 6-pointed star? Israel. Except the Star of David, as it is called, came not from Israel, but Egypt. Amun-Ra people. Formerly the Kali-Ma people in India. Early scholars and researchers reciting ancient books all state King Solomon was of Egypt, not Israel. It didn't exist. And the fact that if you do a search for ancient Egyptian seal of Solomon brings up straight away 6 discounting articles straight off the bat before observing the evidence, suggests a cover-up for me, because it is. And a quote, in retrospect, the 6-pointed star was an Egyptian occult symbol which King Solomon adopted when he went into idolatry and witchcraft and built an altar for Ashtaroth. Now what I do know, privately, it was King Solomon's love for Ashtaroth that led to his descent into the dark magic realms. Look at the pictures of Solomon's ring. On both sides of the 6-pointed star, there's an Egyptian headdress. It's not Israel. These Egyptians and later Israelites were the Kali-Ma peoples from India, who then went on a world domination scheme, desecrating all things white, all things Rus, and all things Aryan, using in our modern day terms. First, they all but killed most of the Rus in Russia, 1919 through 45, then set about creating their next stage of operation, the country of Germany, which also contained Aryan people and was used as a vehicle in World War II, creating the division of Aryan peoples between Russia, the Rus, and the Aryans, the Germans. Get them fighting each other, kill two birds with one stone. You see the picture now. That war led to the creation of the State of Israel, and then on to America. After the end of the war, via Project Paperclip and the Nazis, which is National Zionism, not German at all, but the Kalimar peoples. This is a global problem and has got nothing to do with Israel, the country, or the majority of its people. We've all been duped. But look at this passage for a clue as to who these people are. Acts 7:37 through 43. This is that Moses to whom our fathers would not obey, but thrust him from them, and in their hearts turned back again into Egypt. And they made a calf in those days. And this is my comment. Calf is bull, as in bull, as in Baphomet, which is also represented by the six-pointed star. And they offered sacrifices unto the idol, and rejoiced in the works of their own hands. Same people. Then God turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as is written in the book of the prophets. Quote unquote, O ye house of Israel, have you offered to me slain beasts and sacrifices by the space of 40 years in the wilderness? Yea, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch, and the star of your god Renphan, figures which ye made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. Now the key parts to that is, it says the house of Israel, not the country of Israel, the house. It didn't say the house of Egypt, did it? There is a distinction. It was a house, like the House of Orange, the House of Bavaria, the House of Habsburgs, Saxe, Coburg, Gotha. These are all what's now known as the royal bloodline group. And the House of Israel is the house of Isis and Ra. Is Ra El. El means God. Like it says, you made figures which ye made to worship them. Isis and Ammon Ra, out of Egypt. The worship of these Satanists goes on today, with the worship of Moloch in the Bohemian Grove. The House of Rothschilds, with their Ring of Solomon, moved to a new base in Switzerland. Switzer means twin sisters, as in Isis. Jesus, they say, is the King of the Jews. But what is inscribed on the cross? IHS. Isis, Horus, and Set, as in Satan, as in Satan. The six-pointed star is a representation of Yahweh, which also represents Saturn. Who do the Jewish people worship now? Yahweh. Can you all see the picture now? There is a global worship of the Black Virgins, also called the Black Madonnas, which is the Black Mother, the Kali Ma. And its origin is unknown to the researcher who wrote this piece. Quote, whoever the enigmatic Black Virgin may be, she holds a powerful attraction for her millions of devotees around the world. Her sacred sites stand on highly charged earth energy centers. enhanced by megalithic ley lines and sacred architecture." Unquote. This is how the Kalimar and their sacrificial aligned followers reached a critical mass. They took over all of the earth grids of source charged energies and replaced it with their dark force energies. This is how all the tribal peoples in the past and current, some of them, ended up playing the sacrifice ritual games. It appears throughout history now, starting 110,000 years ago with the Rus texts, not the Vedic texts. That's commonly associated with India. It's not Indian. It came from the Rus and the Aryans who travelled south and east. The original teachings distorted into the Vedics, religion and human sacrifice, which later morphed into the modern day religion of Hinduism. So throughout history, the peoples of Rus have been targeted more than any other peoples or nation on this planet. And the question is, why? Why did the off-world beings target them 110,000 years ago and destroy the whole continent of the Arya? Why did the Ashkenazi Jews and Khan or Cohen try to eliminate them in the 1200s? Why was Tartaria on every map in the 14th and 15th centuries almost get eliminated from history? Who dropped nuclear weapons on them in the 1800s? Why did the Khazarian Jews try to eliminate them in the 1900s with the fake Bolshevik Revolution? And why is there a global propaganda against them that all things Russian are bad, when adversely there's a global propaganda to not critique or question in any way the country of Israel or its religion or its people? You see, there is a direct connection. When the Rus and Aryan peoples brought us so much knowledge and enlightenment, far more than any other group on this planet ever, it's not what they wanted. Northern parts of Russia, still to this day, have a much higher vibration than anywhere else on the planet. That is not supposition. That is actually fact, based on the reports of the people I've spoken to who have all been there. Perhaps it was they who were the real teachers here. It was they who delivered the real person and teacher known as Jesus, but whose real name was Radomir. And it was they who produced the blonde-haired, blue-eyed person known as Mary Magdalene. Both were hunted to death by the Roman Catholic Church, aligned with their demonic worship masters. One day the real story will be revealed. But if we keep ignoring the real genocide on this planet, that it's not blacks or Jews or religious persecution, but the Aryan people and their descendants, then those real teachings and the teachers will ultimately be lost forever.